Andy Dalton has found a new home, and it's right in his backyard. The Dallas Cowboys have signed the former Bengal and current resident of Fort Worth to a one-year deal reportedly worth $3 million with incentives that could bring it up to $7 million. As you know, Dalton was just released by the Bengals on Thursday after 9 seasons. The reaction has been fast and furious. Des Bryant took about 10 seconds to come up with a tweet. Nothing against Andy Dalton, he tweeted, because I think he's a great player. But the Cowboys are extremely out of line. Pay Dak. I watched the Cowboys pay Tony twice, once without a winning wreck. I guess the Cowboys viewing the QB position a plug-in piece because of the dominant offense. Well, there is a lot to unravel with this surprise signing. So we are lucky enough to welcome in Tyler Sullivan, our CBS NFL reporter. Tyler, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Just give me, what's your immediate reaction to this signing of Andy Dalton by the Cowboys?
It's something that we can both kind of look at here as a shot across the bow, and I think this is something you can relate with too, knowing your background. Every organization is looking for leverage in some way, shape, or form, and now with the Dallas Cowboys trying to negotiate a long-term contract with Dak Prescott, they really didn't have a lot of leverage here. He's a successful quarterback with the franchise, fits with the offensive scheme. They want continuity as they're calling in with a new head coach in Mike McCarthy. You think that everything is leaning towards Dak Prescott in terms of their favor to get a lucrative contract. Now, at least the Dallas Cowboys, what I think they're trying to do is give themselves not only an insurance policy for the fact that Dak Prescott decides to hold out, but they also give themselves some at least security that they have a guy that is a starting caliber quarterback already in-house and under contract as they go to these negotiating tables with Dak Prescott to try to hammer out a long-term deal.
Tyler, let's go inside the front office of the Cowboys, where Jerry Jones had a meeting with Jerry Jones, owner meeting with GM. Who do you think had the final say here by bringing in Andy Dalton? Is this a move by Jerry Jones, the GM, or is this a move by the owner saying, hey, we need some leverage?
Well, I think it's both. You have to think about it from both standpoints. Yes, they need leverage, but they also need a quarterback. I mean, right now with Dak Prescott, you don't know what is going to happen. You don't know what the situation is how it's going to unfold one way or another. And if you're the Cowboys, you need to at least have a guy that's in-house that has experience starting in the NFL. So really, I think it was an agreement between both of those parties inside of Jerry Jones' head, in the sense of, yes, we'd like to have a guy that's in-house in Andy Dalton where we can go at least feel somewhat confident going into these games, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks into the regular season if Dak Prescott decides to hold out for a contract. But also you have a guy to Dak Prescott and say, listen, we don't necessarily need you. Yes, you are our 1A option. You are a franchise quarterback. We want you as a Dallas Cowboy, but we now have other options by signing Andy Dalton. So to me, it's an agreement between both of those parties, just in the sense that, yes, it helps us right now in terms of the football team, but it also helps us at the negotiating table as well.
I thought it was personally interesting that they went up to $3 million for Andy Dalton after Jameis Winston actually only got $1 million. What's the difference? Why would Winston get $1 million and then Dalton get $3 million guaranteed with the chance to make $7 million?
Well, I think right now, if you're looking from the Jameis Winston standpoint, he's looking at it really he's looking at Teddy Bridgewater's contract, in my opinion. He's looking at it from the standpoint of, well, if there is a scenario here where all of a sudden Drew Brees is missing games due to injury or something along those lines, and he comes in and has a Teddy Bridgewater-like performance. I'm not saying going 5-0 and helping his team and lighting it up passing, but if he just shows that he's a stable quarterback, keeps his turnovers to a minimum, he's looking at himself as a pretty lucrative contract there, and it's possibly with the New Orleans Saints. I know there's a lot of talk there that they like Taysom Hill as their starter post-Drew Brees, but if all of a sudden you have a guy like Jameis Winston, a former #1 overall pick, showing that he can work within that system, well, then maybe that's the gamble. That's where Jameis Winston is rolling the dice here. That's why he's going with the $1.1 million. Basically the minimum that he could possibly take here. He's trying to either get a Teddy Bridgewater-like contract or be the heir apparent to Drew Brees in New Orleans. That's what he's doing there. With Andy Dalton, to me, it just seems like a fit from a couple of different standpoints. Like we were saying earlier, too, the Cowboys, they need a quarterback to at least either, present the threat of being the week one starter if all of a sudden Dak Prescott decides to hold out, and also helps them with the negotiating table. And for Andy Dalton, he needs a place to at least show that he can be a capable backup or a capable starter in an emergency situation. And that's where he's at, because frankly, there's not a lot of starting quarterback jobs available. If anything, there's none at this point, especially with Jameis Winston and Andy Dalton, 2 starters a year ago, now electing to be backups. So it's just where we are in the NFL at this point.
So in my 18 years, I never actually saw a player ever take a quote-unquote home discount. Do you think that because of coronavirus, because he's right now in Fort Worth with his family, do you think he may have taken less money to join the Cowboys? Could the Patriots potentially have offered him more had he held out and not signed right now?
I really don't think so. I think, if anything, the Patriots will be looking for value. And listen, I'm up here in New England, so I follow the Patriots very closely. I think they like Jarrett Stidham. I think that I've been saying, all along, I believe that he is going to be the week one starter, or at least given every chance to be the week one starter here, maybe compete with Brian Hoyer, the other backup, over the course of the summer here. But if you're looking at it from a financial standpoint with Andy Dalton, Bill Belichick's never been the guy to really open up the checkbook and say, here you go, take all the money that's imaginable. He'll do it for a few players like Stephon Gilmore over a handful of years ago, but very few and far between that Bill Belichick is going to be the highest bidder in any sort of negotiation. So to me, I don't think that Andy Dalton was going to be waiting out for the Patriots for the standpoint of, can they give me the most money? Now, if all of a sudden Bill Belichick says, hey, you can be the week one starter and you are the guy here, then that changes the story there for Andy Dalton. But right now I think that it's mostly going to be Jarrett Stidham's job in New England. So to me, if you're looking at it from an Andy Dalton perspective and you have a really strong feeling that things are going south with Dak Prescott and negotiations with the Cowboys, then maybe all of a sudden you have a reverse Ryan Tannehill of last season. You're not starting the tail end of the season and taking them to the AFC Championship, but maybe you're starting the first 4 weeks of the season, the first 3 weeks of the season, and in that time you can show that you are still a capable quarterback, especially with the weapons that Dallas has. I mean, clearly they are investing in that side of the ball. Ezekiel Elliott doesn't need any introduction other than that. A legit number one running back in the backfield alongside him. You have Amari Cooper, who has been tagged by them. You have Michael Gallup. You just saw them draft CeeDee Lamb in the first round. That offense is loaded, whether it's Dak Prescott or Andy Dalton. That offense should put up points. And does Andy Dalton look at that and say, hey, listen, I can really show out with these weapons over the course of a 2, 3, maybe even 4-week stint here and maybe position myself for a job down the line. So I think there's a lot of factors there for Andy Dalton. And I ultimately think this is maybe a sneaky smart move that he's made here signing with Dallas.
I want to go back to the Dennis tweet, because when you run a team, you look for actual reactions that come immediately after signings are done. And I was shocked that he would come out and say the things he said so soon after the signing, basically impugning the Cowboys and their front office and the way they've acted toward Prescott. Did you have that negative a reaction as I did as a former front office guy?
Well, it's one of those things where it's, what is the holdup here? What is it about Dak Prescott that you do not want to give him that contract? Because we see other quarterbacks across the league currently right now in Patrick Mahomes, former league MVP, Super Bowl MVP, Super Bowl champion, Deshaun Watson with Houston Texans, former first-round pick, everything you would want in a quarterback in terms of talent-wise. Both of those guys looking at potentially the richest, or 1A, 1B, richest quarterback contracts are on the horizon for both of those guys. And both franchises are pretty open in the fact that they want to sign those guys and keep them long-term. For Dak Prescott, he has been a very productive quarterback. Now, I'm not saying he's the talent level of Patrick Mahomes or the talent level of Deshaun Watson, but he has been a darn good quarterback for them and has won them a lot of games. And I know, they've struggled in terms of their record over the past couple of years, or at least last season, but overall, a very capable quarterback that could very well be a part of a Super Bowl championship team there. Now, can he carry them like a Mahomes or something like that? I'm not necessarily sure about that, but I do think that he is a legit quarterback that you could really start in a Super Bowl. So to me, I don't really understand what Dallas is doing here, because also there really are no other options. Yes, they have Andy Dalton now, but I don't think he is a drastic improvement from Dak Prescott. If anything, if you're starting him week one, I think that's a downgrade. So to me, I do have a similar standpoint of what is Dallas's end game here? Is it to get the lowest possible contract for him, or whatever it is? So it is kind of befuddling at the moment as to why they're playing so much hardball with Dak Prescott.
So final question then, moving forward, I'm thinking about Andy Dalton. Do you think he's being used as a pawn now in the Cowboys negotiation with Prescott? Because what does this do for his career, sitting on the bench and not throwing a pass when he could be and will be a free agent again at the end of this one-year deal?
Well, I think they're using it. I think they're using each other. I think that's what you see a lot of these times, in these negotiations between player and team. Andy Dalton's taking the gamble, I think, of let's see what happens with Dak Prescott. Seemingly, if they're willing to sign me, then clearly things are not going particularly well. So maybe I do start, like I was saying earlier. Maybe he starts a couple of games over the course of this. And also, there's also the injury standpoint as well. So you never know what can happen over the course of the season. You start to show your opportunity, and you maybe can be rewarded at the end of the season there. So I think, and then obviously for Dallas, it's the standpoint of let's get a quarterback in here, at least that we know can start in the event that things go extremely poorly with Dak Prescott and he's not able to, re-sign or whatever the case may be. So I think that they're both using each other here in the sense that Andy Dalton finds an opportunity with a high potent offense where he thinks he can put up numbers and possibly play, and the Cowboys, they at least get a quarterback that has some starting experience that they can now go to the negotiating table against Dak and say, hey, we have a guy if you say you don't like this offer that we're giving you.
Tyler Sullivan, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
No problem.
Again, Andy Dalton signed by the Dallas Cowboys. 1 year, $3 million with the chance to make up to $7 million. More HQ is on the way. We're coming back.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.